bit premature because I think if I ask a couple questions.
Well, I'm going to let him answer his foundation questions. When the time comes, you have the right to make your objection. Yes, sir. Member C.
Mr. Waldrep, you were on county council as of February 7th, 2008, were you not?
Yes, I think so.
And if you look at Defense Exhibit 136, it reflects a carbon copy down the bottom. Do you see that?
Yes.
And it reflects all council members received this letter, does it not?
Yes.
And you received this letter in February 2008, didn't you?
If I did receive this, I don't recall it. I may have received it because we got an awful lot of mail.
Mr. Waldrep, do you recall an instance back in February of 2008 where County Council Chairman Michael Thompson related to the council that he was experiencing harassment from members of the community?
You know, I really don't. That to me doesn't register at all that he won.
And Mr. Waldrep, you also don't recall instances where all the other council members, except for perhaps you, Ms. Wilson, received threatening letters threatening sodomization of those council members, do you?
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay. The other
Sure.
council
Just
members.
1 second, Mr. Walter. I'm trying to answer the question. He's trying to put in an objection. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
What council members may have said about harassing letters they may have received is, first of all, hearsay, because they're not here to say it. And second of all, the harassing letter content is further hearsay, one step removed, because it's an anonymous letter from who knows whom. So I don't think this is a fruitful area of inquiry. It's objection.
Number one, that wasn't the question I asked him. I asked him, did he remember during this time frame whether there were council members who were complaining of receiving threatening letters wherein such things as sodomization were being threatened? Now, he was on county council at that time. If it seems like to me that if somebody got a letter or heard about a threat like that, that would be the type of threat someone might remember. And so I'm asking him, does he recall that?
And one other objection with relevance.
Well, he's not asking it, I don't think, for the truth of the matter asserted. I think he's asking whether he had heard of that and what his state of mind might have been. I think that's where you're going. Had he heard those things? I'm going to overrule the objection if he has a recollection. Maybe that becomes objectionable at some point in time, but we'll see whether he's heard of that or not. Go ahead, Mr. Davis. I'll let you ask the question. It's on cross-examination.
Mr. Waldrep, do you recall an instance in the beginning of 2008 where it was reported to the entirety of county council that the other council members were actually receiving anonymous threatening letters at their home?
The only thing I can remember is that there was an atmosphere of counter threats of people getting letters that were supposed to be investigated by SLED. I remember that much, Mr. Davis. But as to a particular letter going to someone on council, I don't. I really don't.
Fair enough. Let's move on. Mr. Waldrep, I'd like to turn your attention to the 2008 primary. You were asked some questions about the 2008 primary on direct. Remember that?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, the 2008 primary and I guess all primaries occur in June. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. Sometimes they, other times, but as I recall, that was in June.
In June of 2008, Tom Allen ran against Bill McAdoo for District 4.
Right.
Tom Allen won.
Right.
In June of 2008, Eddie Moore ran against Larry Greer in District 3.
Right,
Eddie Moore won.
right.
In 2008, Tommy Dunn ran against Michael Thompson.
Correct.
Tommy Dunn won. All right?
Well, he did after, he didn't really win. Actually, what happened was that I think he got less votes than that were necessary for him to prevail. And then there was another process that continued on where I think Mr. Thompson withdrew or in some way, and ultimately Mr. Dunn was declared the winner. That's what I, for some reason.
In June of 2008, Tommy Dunn and Michael Thompson ran into a runoff.
Yeah, right.
And then Mr. Thompson dropped out.
Right.
Tommy Dunn won.
Ultimately.
And in June of 2008, you ran against Raymond McKay.
He ran against me.
Right. That is a fair point. Raymond McKay, he ran against you in June of 2008. Right?
Right.
And you and Mr. McKay got into a runoff.
Right, Mr. Brooks Brown ran also.
And Brooks Brown, when he was the third vote getter, he endorsed you, right?
Ultimately, he did.
And then you got into the runoff with Mr. McKay.
That's correct.
And you won.
I did.
And you won sometime on or about June 24th of 2008.
I think the runoff was 2 weeks or something after the regular time. That probably coincided.
In a very short time frame after you won on June 24th of 2008, you had a victory party.
I did.
That victory party occurred somewhere around the July 4th of 2008 time frame. Did it not?
I think so. I think so.
It would have happened after June 24th, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been celebrating before I won.
And it would have happened in a fairly short period of time after you won on June 24th. On June 24th of 2008, you told the Anderson Independent Mail, and I quote, "It's not often you get the chance to run against a candidate and an administrator." End
Right.
quote. You said that,
I
right?
did. I believe I did. Sounds like something I'd say.
You don't deny that.
No.
Between June of 2008 and December 31st of 2008, that's the time frame when you started having meetings in your office, right?
That sounds about right.
And for the next series of questions, I'm going to talk to you about that time period, okay?
Okay.
You had meetings at your law office, right?
I did.
You had them on Sundays.
I did. After church.
You had them after the primary, right? In June. You invited Tommy Dunn.
I did.
You invited Tom Allen.
I did.
You invited Cindy Wilson.
I did.
You obviously were there too. That's a yes.
Eddie Moore.
Eddie Moore was there. That's right. You at one point you invited Bob Daniel to come, didn't you?
Yes, I think we did.
And at one point there were attorneys from the Nexon Pruitt law firm that attended some of those meetings. Did you not? Were there not?
I have to think about that one. I don't remember. I really don't remember. Now, we had Kurt Gibson come in.
Kurt Gibson was there.
Yeah, Kurt Gibson. And we had Tom Beckwith there.
Tom Beckwith was there.
Mhm.
You testified on direct that these were very open and inclusive meetings, did you not?
Yeah, as far kind of good government meetings, I thought they were.
open and inclusive meetings for people who thought exactly like you, right?
Not exactly, that's what we were trying to determine.
And for example, Gracie Floyd, she's a Democrat, right?
She is.
You didn't invite her.
I haven't invited Miss Floyd anywhere.
And Ron Wilson, he was a Republican, right?
Right.
You didn't invite him.
No, I didn't.
Mr. Waldrep, during those meetings, it's true, is it not, that you discussed a number of things.
That's very true.
One thing that you talked about was the services of the McNair law firm, right?
Possibly, yes.
And you also discussed during those meetings the potential hiring of Nixon Pruitt, did you not?
We may have, yes.
And in fact, at one point, you actually met with a member of the law firm of Nixon Pruitt.
I did.
And we had a motions hearing in this case about that, didn't we?
About hiring.
About your meeting with the Nixon Pruitt lawyer, right?
Yeah,
And you submitted an affidavit, did you not?
I may have.
And during that meeting and in your affidavit, the county took a position that it was partly privileged because you were talking to Nixon Pruitt about the potential of hiring them for the county, right?
Right.
You discussed with the folks at your meeting, at your law office, the prospect of hiring a financial investigator. Did you not?
A financial.
Investigator. An
Oh,
auditor.
yes, yes.
A CPA, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody, an auditor.
You talked about that at length.
We did.
After county council changed in January of 2009, in the very first meeting, the county hired Nixon Pruitt. Did it not?
I believe they did.
In the very first meeting, the county hired Bob Daniel. Did they not?
They did.
And during your meetings in your office between June of 08 and 12/31 of 08, you had conversations about certain employees, didn't you?
Conversation with whom? But
You had conversations about certain employees, didn't you?
with whom? I mean, you
The
talk-
group in your
The group.
office.
At that time, I'm sure we had various employees talk conversations about employees and Bob Daniels, attorneys, and we did all that.
Do you deny having talked about Heather Jones?
When?
During the meetings in your office between June of 2008 and 12/31/08, did you deny having spoke with the group about Heather Jones?
Objection. At this point, Your Honor, I just want to clarify one thing. I think it's not relevant to the issues before the court. What may have happened after the severance agreement was signed, November 18, 2008, till December 31, 2008. I think it's an important distinction, and if there are questions about the time frame before the severance agreement, that's one thing. We think questions about what may have happened after the severance agreement is now over is not relevant.
Your Honor, there is a material time frame at work here, and there is a systematic pattern that we're talking about, and that time period runs from June of 2008 and what they were doing all along, and then when it came to fruition in January of 2009, what they're going to come in here and tell you is, oh, we didn't have any authority. We didn't have any authority. We couldn't do anything. What you're going to hear systematically, maybe from this witness, maybe you won't, maybe tonight, but you'll hear over the next couple days, is that chapter, line, and verse. They sat there. They planned what they were going to do. They had the majority of votes. And on January 1st, 2009, as the meeting minutes reflect, They did exactly what they planned. Say one thing, Joey Preston. Because the outgoing county council stopped them in their tracks before they could do that. And so I'm asking you a question about that. I don't understand what the objection even is.
It's a pretty simple objection. What they were predicted to do by Mr. Preston, which is the basis of this entire claim, right? He said there's an anticipatory breach that has happened because this group of people who is meeting is going to do something to me after January 2009. Whatever it was that they were going to do to him, he resolved that on November 18, 2008, when he signed off on his severance agreement. So what they might have done after that has no bearing whatsoever on Mr. Preston's concern about what they might do because he's now gone.
Oh, you may proceed.
Mr. Waldrep, we were talking about Heather Jones, remember that? Between June of 2008 and December 31st of 2008, do you deny that the group that met at your office was discussing Heather Jones?
I'm trying to think, Mr. Davis. We discussed all employees. She may have been discussed, but to what degree, I'm somewhat, honestly, somewhat doubtful because we have such a large agenda. Heather Jones was not the purpose of those meetings. The purpose of those meetings was something else. Incidentally, her name could have been mentioned because she was, I think she was economic director or something of that nature.
The question's actually much simpler than that. Do you deny that the group had conversations about Heather Jones?
Are you saying me personally? Or are you saying,
Are you saying anybody else in the witness stand, sir?
Yeah, if you're saying that I did or did not, I don't really remember. I just don't.
So you don't deny it?
Well, I can't if I don't remember, Mr. Davis. I really don't recall.
Do you deny that the group that met in your office between June of 2008 and December 31st of 2008 had specific conversations about Gina Humphreys?
No. Because she was a finance director, and so we had specific conversations. I feel sure about her. But Heather Jones, she was kind of way away from the thrust of what we were trying to do. And that was to get our hands on the financial information.
You don't remember Heather Jones being discussed, right?
I don't.
Michelle Ricketson? Did you have conversations about Michelle Ricketson?
Michelle Ricketson? Probably.
Bill Sterling. You know who Bill Sterling is?
Oh, yeah.
You had conversations about him, right?
Yeah, we did. Because that was a necessity of the park police, and I think he headed up the park police.
During your meetings between June 2008 and December of 2008, you discussed who's going to be the next county council chairman, did you not?
Probably.
You even discussed who was going to nominate.
I don't remember that, but I know it was discussed.
The group decided that Cindy Wilson was going to nominate, didn't it?
Ms. Davis, I don't remember that process. That was just, we knew that we were talking about trying to find out who wanted to be chairman of Madison County Council. And that was not something that anybody was going into lightly. I think there was kind of a poll in a way of who was interested.
Between June 2008 and December 31st of 2008, the group discussed Brandon Grace, did it not? You know who Brandon Grace is, don't you?
Yeah, I think I do. He was an employee at the
Farmers Market?
farmer's market, I think.
You talked about him too, right?
It's possible it was talked about because, you know, we talked about a lot of areas of operation of the county, the farmer's market. We talked about the operation of the economic development. So these names, the people that were head of those departments would be talked about, yes.
Mr. Waldrep, Heather Jones is no longer with the county, is she?
Say again?
Heather Jones, she's not with the county anymore, is she?
No,
Bill Strewing, he's not with the county anymore, is he?
no,
How about Brandon Grace? Is he with the county still?
no,
How about Michelle Ricketson?
no.
Mr. Waldrep, you were asked questions earlier about remarks that you made at the audit committee meeting on August 5th of 2008. Remember those?
Yeah.
During those remarks, you discussed the potential putting on leave of the county administrator and the finance director.
Correct.
And that finance director is Gina Humphreys, is it not?
That's right.
Mr. Waldrep, during your meetings that you had at your office, which you initiated, wherein you invited what would be a majority of council as of January of 2009, you also discussed Mr. Preston, did you not?
Well, Mr. Preston was source of conversation at some of the meetings, but nothing was said about what was going to happen to Mr. Preston. We were just trying to wait until we had the authority to do